In this video, I'm interviewing the CEO and founder of arguably the livest 7-on-7 team in the nation, Raw 7-on-7. And if you guys don't know who they are, you probably know them by being the famous viral team on TikTok, or even knowing them by the infamous Wheezy dance. And look, even if you're not in the football world, I encourage you to watch this interview because it's loaded with marketing and entrepreneurship value. I mean, just to put into numbers, Raw 7-on-7 across all platforms put around 300K followers in just under 1 year. Yes, you heard that right, in under 1 year. And alongside that, this team is stacked with Division I talent from 5-star QB Julian Sain, 4-star wide receiver LeWayne McCord, 4-star wide receiver KJ Duff, and that's not even scratching the surface. And that's not even to mention the crazy talented coaching staff that they have. So with just that, you can see why the man behind assembling this tremendous program and brand could be someone worth incredibly listening to. I don't want to spoil too much, but just watch the rest of the video to see how this CEO overcame failures, built a brand, and ultimately made a statement in under 1 year. So enjoy the rest of the video and remember that this is a place where learning becomes entertaining. Welcome back everybody to the Leaders Talk Podcast, where I'm your host Jacob Pino. I'm going to interview leaders from every industry, from athletes to CEOs to coaches to pastors, the list goes on. And my job is to uncover the stories. That way you can take a piece of everybody's success and apply it to your own. So if that sounds like something you like, make sure to subscribe and enjoy the rest of the video. But like you saw in the intro, we're interviewing the CEO of probably arguably the most live 7-on-7 team in the nation at the time. Raw 7-on-7 CEO, Jose Duasso. So appreciate for you taking the time.
Thanks, Jake. Thanks for having me.
So I want to start off from the beginning. How did you get your foot into the door with 7-on-7?
So I was about 24, 25 at the time, coaching at Westminster Christian with Cedric Irvin. I went to school there. We had never been a good football program. Ced came in, and after 3 years, we had 3 Army All-Americans. We had some guys. I was kind of a young coach there. Wasn't really a coach. I was more of a glue guy, making sure kids were good, take them to college campuses for them, take them to the camps, just being kind of like a GA role for them and learning the game. And I owe a lot to Cedric. He taught me a lot. And a buddy of mine suggested, hey, why don't you get into the 7-on-7 thing? You have a good knack of recruiting. Yeah. Kids gravitate towards you. Why don't you do it? So I sat down, started a team called Nightmare off my first team ever. I now have 3 current NFL players in DJ Ivey, Rashad Wildgoose, and Josh Jobe.
On that team,
that Nightmare team. I had never started a team before. I had never been in the 7-on-7 game. DJ Ivey's brothers played for me at Westminster. Josh Jobe, I had strong connections in Coconut Grove. Yeah. Coached a lot of kids that played football there. And then Wild Goose came just off word of mouth through other kids. Gilbert Frierson, he was hurt his last year, but Gilbert would have been on that team as well. He was close with Wild Goose from their days at Gables. And they just kind of came together with me, helped me recruit, put together a team, did a couple tournaments. It's crazy where my first year is now to, I would say, year 7 or 8 now in the game.
Yeah. And then I know from there you kind of bounced around from different 7-on-7 teams.
I bounced around. It was a rocky road. It was a lot of twists and turns, but I learned a lot. I did Nightmare for about 3 years. I then realized that where the space was going, it hadn't gotten there yet. I formed a partnership with Florida Fire, running their Fire South program. Took some things from there on how to do things, how not to do things. They were a great brand at the time. Dennis was a visionary, first of his kind, I would say. Built a massive brand, but realized that I need a smaller sample size. It was too big of an organization. I wanted to keep it small. My coaching staff for my 15U team at Nightmare was with Immortals. They had me go meet with their founder, Rudy. After a year with Fire, I went to the Immortals. I was helping running the show there, was there for 3 years. And then after last season, after OT7, I realized where 7-on-7 was going. And I broke off and created my own brand, was fortunate to partner with Adidas and have some great donors. We are a nonprofit and Raw kind of just formulated overnight. And obviously I am the CEO, I am a leader, but without the crew that followed me, that I've assembled over the years, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Yeah, where I know you just said that you mentioned that you saw 7-on-7 was going in a different direction. What exactly?
Well, yeah, when I was with Nightmare, and it was off Twitter, you're not getting the track. Maybe now, Twitter could now with the algorithm and all their stuff they're doing could really blow things up. But at the time, we would post a video of a kid dancing because South Florida is just known for their dancing, and a big reason why Raw went LeWay McCoy and his dance. We went mega viral. But I did see the traction in the space where, wow, we're getting a lot of clicks. And if I'm able to kind of home that in and put a lot of focus into a marketing aspect in a brand, I think we could take it to another level. Was really fortunate when I was with Immortals that Fatboy Films jumped on board with us. He was a Gulliver student. Our quarterback Carson Haggard was from Gulliver, brought in his buddy just to film us. I'm pretty sure it was a school project at the time for him.
Yeah.
Realized he was really talented, really put the Immortals on the map. And then Soulflow Sauce, a good friend of mine, Joel Shapiro, was in college. He was actually my first ever cameraman when Nightmare. 4 years go by. The Immortals Battle Miami tournament, year 2 for me, or year 3 actually. I see him at the tournament. He's getting back in the space. I bring him on to be my social media manager, kind of a CMO role. His background's in marketing. That's his degree in school. And then putting Joel and Fatboy together was the dream team. And then obviously my other media and / GM in Polkway came on board, and the three of them on a media perspective are brains. They really work together well. They love to roast each other, but they really just kind of took the Immortals to a whole nother level, making a more professional look. And then they're just the sauce behind the Raw. Like, hey, I know I could recruit kids, but without them and our social media power, we'd be absolutely nothing.
Yeah, to put into numbers, I want to get back to the marketing, but to put into numbers, right? You guys have almost around 300,000 followers across platforms.
Yeah, across all platforms. When our first year with Immortals that we went mega viral with the team with Cam Kitchens, Khalil Brantley, Romello Brinson, Yoel Keith Brown, some of the names to mention on that team. We went crazy viral on YouTube between Fatboy Films' little vlog and Under the Radar. We were getting crazy clicks. I think I was calculating that we were close to the 3 million total views mark off YouTube alone through about 6 different videos on YouTube. Then COVID hit, and we had a really special team that year. Like, I was really pumped for the team that we had that year. So throughout
For
Immortals, yeah. So through COVID, I really sat down, was trying to find someone to help me just figure out the social media route, building out platforms. Fatboy's still young at the time, but he's really done a fabulous job on where we're at.
Yeah.
And then obviously pairing him up with Joel, but I was meeting with people all through COVID, trying to figure this out. Couldn't find the person I wanted. Bumped into Joel at our first tournament, and then kind of the rest is history in terms of where our platform went with Immortals, in the sense of just the look, more professional, kind of take that pro team approach on a social media platform. And then obviously what you're seeing with Raw is just exactly what our blueprint and dream was. And we've done it with limited resources in terms of budget and crew, but we're only going to grow bigger now.
Yeah. So what's some of the things, because I know right after that you started, after Immortals you started Raw.
Yeah.
Pretty much. What was some of the, like, if you could categorize like 3 things that you took from being with Immortals, what do you think that would be?
I've always been true to myself on the way that I allow our teams to run. I would say from my Nightmare days to Immortals, at Immortals I really ran the varsity program. That was just my main focus. So it was really like what I took more from Fire and from my Nightmare days. Not really 3 things. I would just say being true to the kids in the brand, let them be themselves, and you'll see them have a lot of success on the field. Not be buddy-buddy with them, but in terms of just let the kids have fun out there and be themselves. talk shit, back it up, look good, play good, feel good.
Yeah.
A big thing for us was getting, definitely getting some players that just were alpha males. Like, identify who could set the tone and all that. Like my Cam Kitchens, the Luane McCoys, the Cleo Brantleys, just big personality and all that. If you got kids with personality and you have a great camera crew like we do and a great media team and are able to show these kids personalities, it will go a long way in social media.
Kind of fast forwarding a little bit to the start of Raw, the birth of Raw. How did that, like, do you remember the day that you realized, because I know you said you saw 7-on-7 going in a different direction, but what was that time that you're like, oh, like this is it?
Yeah, I would have been with Immortals, but our performance at OT7 Nationals was just embarrassing for me. I had never ever lost the way that we were losing out there. Used to winning multiple championships in a year. And we only won one championship at Raw. We're a first year team, but we won a very big tournament, finished number 2 in the country at the national tournament, top 4 finishes, but we were losing tournaments early. I was having a bad taste. I saw where the space was going. And while we're in Vegas on that last day, I was just sitting in my room and just thinking, and I was like, man, like, I can't have anybody to lean on to make decisions. I needed full control. Look, the Immortals brand's great. They do a great job with the kids. They're great with the kids. But with the financial investment, even though it's a donation, but I'm going out there putting my face on these donations and asking these people for the money, I realized I needed to be in complete business control in terms of not every founder of a Fortune 500 company is the CEO. I needed to be the CEO. Granted, I am the founder, but I do lean on my partners a lot. I do have some incredible partners, but I just needed to be in the driver's seat and have not one person that could overrule me in terms of decisions of the program.
So what was is there like a pinpoint moment that it was just like, I need to do this?
Yeah, I don't want to go into too much detail on that, but it was just, I just remember, I know you guys saw, we flew on a private jet to Nationals with Immortals, and I was just sitting on that plane and looking around, and I was just like, you know what, like, I'm just done with this. I need to be in control. And I remember sitting down, I remember looking around and asking kind of my crew of my inner circle within that team, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you guys think? I have this opportunity. I've made really good connections over the years. A good friend of mine is Tua's agent. He helped me get me in the door with Adidas. And he got me into, and I'm very thankful for Tua and Ryan, and they got me to the door with Adidas. And saw kind of the players that I had on my roster going into the following season. And like, as Joel's just the wizard created a great pitch deck. We sent it over to Adidas. They got us the green light. And me knowing getting the Adidas contract, it was just a wrap. Like Thanos, Infinity Rings. Like,
I mean, to talk about, like, Adidas has some of the biggest.
Yeah, so to look at Adidas, they hadn't added a team, I want to say, in about 5 years to their brand in the 7-on-7 space. They had cut a lot of the programs that were with.
They cut some 7-on-7.
Oh teams? Yeah. They did a massive company, like, just as all companies, especially during COVID and right before COVID, just cut a lot of programs. So it was a really big deal to be the new Adidas team on the block. Battle's a great company, but in the 7-on-7 space, you really had Battle that controlled everything in Adidas. But obviously, Adidas is just Adidas, it's the big three. And knowing that I'm getting cleats for the kids and all that, like, look, at the end of the day, the cleats and the gear, look good, play good, feel good, is a big thing and goes a long way with these kids. If you're able to get all that, recruiting just becomes very easy, which recruiting was already easy for me. So giving me that advantage and giving my staff an advantage. And another big reason why I parted was I wanted my own staff. I had my day ones with me. My defensive crew's been with me since my nightmare days. And I had a new defensive coordinator over the last 2 years because they had kind of taken a step back. They reached out to me that they wanted to get back involved. And once I knew that they were willing to come with me, and then once I added Tommy Schuler from Miami Central as my OC, the rest is history. Like it's like fishing with dynamite in a barrel, in a small little barrel there. Like
that's a good analogy.
Yeah, it just between Schuler's energy and my defensive staff's energy, and you could see it in the overtime videos. They interview my defensive coordinator Keon Payne. My kids feed off of it. And between my staff, my coaching staff, my media staff, like I've assembled what I like to call the dream team.
I was about to say,
I have Cedric Irvin as our head coach, so I have like an OG old head. He's coached at Alabama, he's coached at the University of Memphis, he's coached at Eastern Carolina. He's been at Division I programs. He played for Coach Saban. I coached for him. I kind of know what I'm looking for, kind of what I want, and just assembled a really good crew of guys that know what they're doing. They know how to deal with the kids. And as we know, like Schuler's one of the hottest coaches in the city right now. Kids will follow him. I knew I had to, once I had the opportunity that he wanted to jump on board, I had to close that deal. And like now I really don't have to recruit. I got guys that kids want to play for, a brand that kids want to play for. Like I think I was telling you before the interview, my DMs on the Raw page and my personal DMs and Polkaway's personal DMs and Schuler's personal DMs. Like, man, this is going to play. Yeah, exactly. This is going to be the hardest tryout showcase I've ever had. Look, I was nervous last year starting a new brand. It had been riding like a bike with Immortals, even Nightmare, because I had my crew of kids. I went over to Raw. I didn't really have any local kids. I was one of the first in South Florida, if not the first, to really go national. I had Sam Howell play for me. Jaden Hasselwood, who was the number one receiver at the time, played for me. I had Sheridan Jones from Norfolk, that he's Clemson's starting corner now, play for me, that I brought in. And there was other 7-on-7 programs clowning me about bringing in national kids, and now they do the same thing. So that's funny there. But I had national kids. I had Des Ricks before he reclassed telling me he was going to play for me, but he recruited for me. Ellis Robinson was hurt at the time for national, so he didn't play with us, but I had locked him in to play for me. I had built a great relationship with his dad, Jaden Hardy, Brandon Wynn, IMG. Polkaway really got us into the IMG pipeline there, but I had those kids, and I was like, wow, I have national kids, but I don't have local kids. I love my South Florida roots, so I added Tommy Schuler, was able to grab a lot of his Central kids and a couple other local kids. Me leaving Immortals, them being a down south team, I thought I wouldn't be able to grab some down south kids. I was able to grab some down south kids. Like I said, the Adidas contract makes it real easy. But also just the reputation of how I run my program and how kids have fun with us and let them be them. Just word of mouth. Cam Kitchens is heavily involved with us. So is Khalil Brantley, two local icons down here.
Legends in South Florida.
Legendary South Florida players. Romello Brinson as well, Ewell. So I really like to utilize my former players when it comes to recruiting. Hey, I'm on this kid. I need you to hit him up, DM him, just like put down. And like I said, the rest is history. We're in a good position there. And I've just been very fortunate that I have these top guys wanting to help us, obviously building the relationship with them, that they believe in what I do and the team, the fun that they had with us. So having guys like Khalil and Cam, like, they coached in the first tournament with us. They both helped at our showcase. Cam worked with our DBs at our the day after our showcase with the private workouts with kind of the elite out-of-town kids we brought in and some of the local elite kids. So, yeah, man, there's a formula to my madness, and it seems like I figured it out. I still have a lot to learn, but I do believe we're on an incredible trajectory.
Yeah, I would say right now, probably, if not the top, one of the tops marketing group, everything in the 7-on-7 field.
I don't think there's anybody even close to us. Like
in 1 year, just to mention, in 1 year.
Yeah, in 6 months, we've grown to close to 300,000 platform users. We didn't do this by partnering with a influencer like some other programs did, or being an influencer's team. or being a former NFL player like Cam, if you look at our program compared to any other program, there's nothing, and I'll be cocky and arrogant here, there's no one remotely close to what we're doing in the space in terms of marketing and just brand building, and having brand identity. And like, as this podcast is a leadership thing, is what one thing I can say is every CEO, every great CEO or every great head coach is only as good as what he surrounds himself with. And if you don't have a crew of people around you that have the same, that are like-minded, same vision, and are about the brand and building that company brand team, you're not going to have success. And you're only as good as your weakest link in it. And we don't have any weak links the way I look at it.
I like that. No weak links.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing that I think I've learned from, I think going back to your question, what were the three things learning from the Immortals, was just like, you're only as good as your weakest link, and you need to have a strong core of a crew around you. And I think like I said earlier, I assembled the dream team. I have great partners, and I'm just real happy on where we're headed.
Yeah. I kind of want to talk about before, because I really want to dive into Raw, like where you see the vision of it going, the kind of the sauce of it. But you seem like you bring up a lot like business references, like the CEOs, CMOs. Like, how did you really learn? Because I know, like, obviously the 7on7 is I know you said it's a nonprofit, but you have to run it like it's a business because there's finances in it. But how did you like really understand the business aspects?
So just growing up, my dad's a small business owner. He grew up dirt poor. I saw he owns retirement homes. Like, I'm not saying we're wealthy by any means. We're in a good position in life, but I seen how he's grown his business. I went to a small private school down in Palmetto Bay, Florida, Westminster Christian. Just the network of people that I grew up around, and seeing their dads be successful businessmen. I'm very observant, and just, you have to have that type of mindset. I think at anything you really set your mind to
be observant.
Yeah, no, be observant, but I'm stating just having that business mindset. Like, especially if you're starting something, like, you need to have, you can't do it by yourself. You need to have multiple people around you that know their roles, know what their assignment is, and what they're doing. And why I make business references in this is, I have Joel, head of marketing. We're a nonprofit, and our other partner, Elijah King, he's our head of philanthropy, head of fundraising, something that I used to do. Like, I used to do a lot of this stuff, and it's like you're being in the kitchen. You, especially at a restaurant, you're looking at the oven or the grill. You have about 3 or 4 things going. You got to have one on low heat, one on high heat. And if I could take certain plates off my table, that's what I needed to do, especially when it came to Raw. I brought Andrew Forelli over from South Florida Express. That was a big thing for me. South Florida Express has been the premier team down here they're the original team down here. And I wanted to bring someone in from over there to have an outside perspective. Also, he's like-minded, he's very on point with us. And it's just, like I said, assembling a crew of guys that know the space, know what they're doing, and know their roles.
Let me ask you, because you just said that SFE used to be the premier.
Yeah.
Team. So I wanna ask you, is that one of your goals, to be the new face of South Florida?
I think the goal's been already accomplished. I think we are the face of South Florida 7on7. Men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. Our analytics are far more superior than any team down here. I got nothing but the utmost respect for all the programs down here. Like I told you before the podcast, Chris and Chop are some of my dear friends that run DEF CON. I love that program. I love what they do for the kids. I love their passion. We talk about it all the time, and just like at the end of the day, I do believe that there are faces of South Florida. Don't get me wrong. Not trying to be a total dickhead, but like I said, I would say there's a big 3 with one program kind of fading away, at least in the South Florida power. But I would say we're on a very good trajectory, and I would say on at least a social media standpoint, we are the face of South Florida. And granted, my team it does have a nice percentage from national, but the way I look at it, look, if I have 24 plane seats that I have to fill up and buy flights for, it isn't expensive. Some people call it a hobby. We are a nonprofit. We launched a nonprofit that's over called Beyond the Goalpost. Ricky Jean-Francois, former NFL vet, local legend from Carroll City High, played at LSU, MVP of the national championship game. He's the president of Raw now, teaching financial literacy to our kids because of NIL. Look, my kids are predominantly 4 and 5 stars. We have a few 3 stars. Every kid has pretty much Power 5 offers on our roster. Now in NIL, these kids are going to be making money that they've never seen before. And you have to have someone like Ricky involved to teach these kids. Like when you go to the NFL, you have a rookie, like a rookie camp teaching you on financial literacy, all that stuff, like how to spend your money. No one's doing that for these high school kids. So now we've added Ricky to that portion of our stuff. And like I was saying, when you have 24 flights that you have to buy, I don't like to lose. And if I don't think you could cut it for my standards, I'm gonna go hop in the portal.
I like how you mentioned like now there's like they do it for the NFL, but now there's NILs for college, so you kind of have to do the opposite. Now for high school students going into college, now you have to add that program, and it gives you like kind of like a distinctive competitive edge when you have that person that knows what they're talking about teaching financial literacy to these guys that
Ricky's been a very successful businessman off the field. You could Google search him and type in Ricky Jean-Francois, type in business. Look, he was a highly touted recruit. He was a 7th round draft pick, played 11 years in the NFL, never signed a mega deal, made good money in the NFL, but what he's made outside the NFL, you got to tip your cap to the man. And he's really, and I really owe a lot to him. He's really taken the initiative. He doesn't need to sit down with these kids. We were going to Mike Tunzel's school down in Liberty City. We were going down to Miami Central. Really, we did about 4 sessions at each school, 5 sessions, and really went over the basics. Really learned how to do it year 1. Obviously, that's something in year 2 that we got to take to the next level. But really just giving these kids, and it's like the Wolf of Wall Street reference in the scene where they have like the blueprint where Leonardo DiCaprio's in the warehouse with all his guys.
I know what you're talking about.
Essentially, that's what we want to create is give these kids a blueprint on how to be successful and how to remain successful. Look, a lot of kids bust. You have a very hard chance to make it to the NFL. But now NIL and having guys like us in your corner with our nonprofit, we can make sure that at least you could start life with a very good foot out in front of you. If you don't make it to the NFL, you should have enough money to go buy a home and not have to really worry about a big mortgage or rent, where you could just get a 9 to 5 and live a very comfortable life. Obviously, everybody's dreams to be a millionaire, but look, at the end of the day, not all of them could make it, but if you could help, and obviously we're not going to save every kid, but if you could make a difference in a few of them and make sure that they don't go back to the situation that they came from, that's exactly what we want to do.
So I want to talk about, because all this that you're talking about, yes, you went through the trials and tribulation, you learned from other teams. It was like how you said, you've been in the game for 7-8 years, so for those 7 years you were learning, but it's like, this last year, people that don't know you, that see you, they'd be like, hey, overnight success type of thing, because it kind of was like the marketing. I know everything was intentional, and that's what I want to talk about. But everything was within under a year that you had this massive, like the marketing, the followers, everything.
Everything was strategic on our end. We definitely partnered with some platforms to help promote us that have a good following, like 305 Sports. Those 2 twins are doing a fabulous job at building a nice social media platform for 305 Sports, for South Florida sports, just not the 305, 954, 305 West Palm. They're really promoting South Florida sports on a whole nother level.
100%.
They launched us, put a great promo video out for us. So everything was very strategic in what we were doing in terms of building our brand. Did I imagine we would be where we're at?
That's what I was gonna ask
Did
you.
I imagine we would be at 300,000 followers? No. But I do believe that we did have goals set. We did want to hit six figures over all platforms over a year. It took 5 months. It actually took less than 5 months. It took us about 4 months to hit six figures on social media.
Yeah.
So we hit that in about a quarter of a span of our goals.
Yeah.
But man, now seeing it, we've taken it very serious. Like obviously the 7-on-7 season's over. My guys created a great ideas for a content platform for the off season, top 5 raw plays of the week. We would give some of the kids maybe like a raw check-in, all that type of stuff. So we're actually evolving every single day, figuring out how to continue growing our brand and all that stuff. So yeah, there's still stuff to learn, but we pretty much have a nice foundation and blueprint, and seeing what works and doesn't work now, and we don't have to worry about it because we do have a nice following and all that stuff.
Yeah. No, it's crazy because, like you said, like it's still under. Like, it's crazy because if this was the first year, I can't imagine how the rest is. So that's why you set yourself up very nice. It's a very nice foundation. Like you said, now you have these people DMing you. It's less of like you going, now you have tons of DMs going to you. So how do you see the future unfolding for Raw?
Oh, the future unfolding for Raw. I think by my standards, I want to be a national champ every year. Obviously, it's very hard to do. There's some great clubs out there, great recruiting. Very hard for us to practice. So like how we lost to Low Pro in the national championship, that's a team that practices 2 times a week. Maybe makes no sense because I know their quarterback's going Division One, but 99% of that team is not going Division One, and they're beating 4 and 5 stars. They beat South Florida Express 37-0, and their coach was stuck in traffic. The kids were calling their own plays. But those kids just have a lot of heart, and practicing does make a difference. Obviously, everybody should practice. That's a goal for me in year 2. Obviously, like you said, the brand's out there. Everybody knows who we are. It's the overnight success happened. Now, if we could get more of a South Florida or a Florida-based, my next goal is at least having some practices during the season to make sure that
there's a chemistry.
There's timing. Look, I changed quarterbacks multiple times during the year. I had Julian Saint to start the year, who's going to Alabama. I had Michael Van Buren. They were with us for the first 2 tournaments. Julian had Elite 11, Rivals, some stuff at Alabama that he had to go to, couldn't travel with us for mid to the end of the season, came back for the national championship. Michael Van Buren had to stop playing with us. A player got hurt at St. Francis. St. Francis just really shut down 7-on-7 going into spring, was very understandable. And we had kind of a revolving door at quarterback for 3 to 4 tournaments. But then that's my biggest thing, is just securing a quarterback that I could have for the full year, practice with him, gain some chemistry. We didn't really have chemistry with our wide receivers and quarterbacks, and we're winning tournaments or losing in the championships. So that's the crazy part. So if we're able to develop a chemistry on the team, especially with the coaching I have, it seems
like pretty much like just like the mistakes that you made your first year, you're gonna pick up on your next year, but laying down the foundation to
absolutely
just build upon that. You've been like across. I don't think there's an exact number, but dozens and probably hundreds of D1 athletes between all the 7-on-7s you played, through everything.
Through all my rosters, I want to say, now counting this team, I've probably had on my rosters close to or a little bit over 200 Division I prospects.
So let me ask you, so out of the 200, there's some that make it to not only college, but the NFL level. And there's some that do really well in college. What's been the biggest separator between the ones that make it to the NFL, the ones that excel in college, like some characteristics that they have?
Work ethic is the only thing I could say.
Was there any like in particular athlete that you think of that you...
Cam Kitchens, DJ Ivy, those 2 right there, I'll jump off the top of my head. They wake up before everyone else, outwork everybody, keep their head down, remain humble, and they're the first one in the facility and the last one in the facility. Look, it's like I tell all my kids, the school that's recruiting you has 85 guys on scholarship around there. They're recruiting the same, they're looking at you the same way they look at the man to the right and to the left of you when you're standing in line at practice. Yeah. They all think you're the same. But what's going to separate you, and I took this from Cedric Irvin, what's going to separate you at Alabama from the 5-star that they recruited the year before you and the 5-star they recruited the year after you? The work ethic you put in, how much time you put in, learning that playbook. That's my biggest preach to my kids is, number one, learn that playbook. Yes, you need to outwork everyone in the weight room. After the weight room, go catch. Andy Jean's a perfect example of a kid I had that's at Florida. He makes sure he catches 100 balls a day on the jug machine since he was in high school. But if you're going to outwork people, you are definitely a step or two ahead of most kids at your own school. So it's just really your work ethic and what you're willing to put in. Are you willing to sacrifice watching film and not going to your boy's house and playing Madden or Fortnite or Call of Duty or even going out for some of these guys? Are you willing to sacrifice that to have an extra film session with your position coach, your QC, your GA? Like, that's where I think separates players to the next level is the work you put in. And that goes anywhere in life. Yeah. Like, if you're lazy, you're not going to make it. It's very, very hard to make it in life if you don't have a work ethic. Yeah. So it's just the work you put in, if you really care about it, that's what's just going to set you apart.
Yeah. It's crazy because I think and I think you guys watching, and especially me, like you could see the unfolding of Raw. It was just like, you ever seen that picture of the iceberg and it's like the tip is there, but then you see the whole iceberg underwater. It's kind of what it is for Raw and the brand that you're building. And I want to go back to what you said that earlier in Raw, you switch your quarterback. So you didn't have the same quarterback from the beginning to the end of the season. And there was other, like the kid from St. Francis that got hurt. Like there was a bunch of micro failures in the way. Yeah. Did that get to your head and say, damn, bro, like, maybe Raw's not gonna?
No, because we already had won a tournament, and once we won that New Orleans tournament, which you could ask any of my coaches that have been with me since day one. Like, I remember winning that tournament, and we got back to the hotel lobby, and it was just like you let out a sigh of just relief, like that was just a gauntlet on what we had to go through. Like, I would say my road to that championship was harder than the OT7 Nationals with the teams that we played. And some of the teams that were there were at OT7 Nationals, very good teams. But man, I was sitting there with my coaches and just gave out a sigh of relief. Yeah. And we really played a gauntlet of teams. We came back and won in the last play of the game in one game. We had 2 overtime victories in playoffs. And it was just like, wow, like we really had to dig deep to win that tournament and face a lot of adversity, being down, being up, getting a team tied in the last seconds, now having to go to overtime. It really just put us, made our team mentally tough, and to get to where we're at definitely helped us throughout our season. That's why I think our offense, our defense, and look, I had a revolving door on defense as well. With today, I had some injuries during the year. I had kids taking college visits. My offense pretty much stayed the same. We would maybe plug in 1 or 2 kids throughout the year there, but defense was kind of a revolving door for my staff. And big time on defense is communication and having the kids know where they're going. With no practice, that's tough. So we were still successful with a revolving door on our defense, having to switch starters every week of tournaments. Yeah. So we had a lot of micro failures, but like I said, my staff was able to just take them on the chin and be successful at every tournament that we went to.
Yeah. And I kind of want to talk about deeper than the 7-on-7 in terms of, like, I don't even think you have to be in the football world. You could see the marketing obviously worked. The branding, you developed the brand. So I think amongst any industry, they can respect what you've done. So what's some of the lessons that you've learned on marketing in terms of?
Well, honestly, look, I'm not the brightest tool in the shed. I'm fortunate for the crew that I have around me.
So at least how about in this, since you, I would say delegate tasks to other people, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned in finding like people to work
Just
with?
finding people that are passionate between, and going back to my media team, I haven't even mentioned, our creative director, Rob, is a wizard at graphic design. And then we have a little intern, Finkel, that he makes a lot of just some of the edits for us, but Rob is just the brains behind our editing, our logo. We had an original logo. I really didn't like it. I linked up with Rob for him to actually make a deck for us. He makes all our decks and all that stuff. He's a wizard at copywriting. He's a wizard at graphic design. Him and Joel together, we have an on-running joke. Well, no, it's not even the dream team. It's the the 90s Bulls. We run a triangle offense. Rob calls me Jordan. Rob's Pippen, and Joel's Dennis Rodman, in the sense of just coming in and cleaning things up. That we just run off the three of us when it comes to the creative side of things, and making sure that we're on point. And then Joel takes that, goes to Fat Boy. Him and Fat Boy on the visual side of things with the videos is just Fat Boy. Fat Boy is you're watching a master at work when he's making his videos. So between Rob and Fat Boy and Finkel on the graphics and the videos, I've just learned I've assembled a great team. I really lean on Joel probably the most out of most in my camp, since he's been with me since day one. Being my first ever cameraman, and now he's just like the CMO for us. And Joel keeps me, number one, level-headed, reels me back in, because I like to talk smack. I like to be loud and vocal, but he brings me back to reality, checks me. He has a very good judge of character. So do I. But when I'm just stuck on things, I'll go to him and say, "Hey, like, what do you think about this?" And him and I have pretty much made all good decisions as of right now. So, like I said, we're on an incredible trajectory and on the right track right now. We're a very easy brand that we built, in the sense of our foundation. It's like the iceberg reference you made earlier. You have the little tip popping out, but underneath the water, you have a massive, massive structure. And we've built a blueprint of a foundation that could really take us to the next level. What's the future of Raw? Hopefully adding a 15U this year. That would be part 2 for us. We'll do that. I'll never probably add another varsity program. My biggest thing is I don't like to water down the brand. I wouldn't want to add a second team, just because when you go to tournaments, I want people to be like, "Oh, there's Raw." I don't want to send another team and they're like, "Is that Raw, or is that Raw's second team, or is that?" That's my biggest thing, is having brand integrity. Maybe there's a day that comes that I still run Raw and I go start another team somewhere and really try to flex on the space that, hey, I know what I'm doing. So, but that wouldn't be for any time in the near future. For right now, it's just taking it step by step, hopefully getting the proper funding to get a youth team, have them travel a bit, obviously nowhere near to the level of a varsity program, have them really travel locally in the state of Florida, maybe go out of town 2-3 times a year. But really making sure that the kids have a great experience. I would never, ever build the brand where the kids can't have any experience that I want them to have. So,
and it seems like from everything that you've been speaking, the real core of all this is like the kids and like helping.
Yeah, my biggest thing is obviously my background is not where my kids or my coaches come from, but growing up in the football community, I understand them, and I want to be able to bridge the gap from my network and connections, and able to hand them to my kids. I think the biggest thing in life is obviously going to school and getting a degree, which I'm in the process of doing now. I didn't go to college. I went for a few semesters and dropped out. But it really, at the end of the day, is don't get discouraged. It's not about a piece of paper. It's really about who you know in life. And that's been my biggest drive, is who I know in life, I want to pass on to my group of kids that are under my wing and in our program. Why I got Ricky involved. I got to know him. He saw my passion. He saw what I love to do for these kids. And he jumped on board saying, hey, I'm here to help you and help bridge that gap in our community. Because at the end of the day, no other program is doing what we're doing in terms of a nonprofit standpoint and doing what we're doing in the community. They could try to now, and they're just going to mimic me. And I would love for them to do it because it only
Adds to you.
It only adds to not only us, but to the South Florida community, man. I do believe that these kids need help. They're at a massive disadvantage in life with some of the resources that they have. The public school system down here in Dade County, I'll trash. They don't pay our coaches well. In South Florida, the coaches don't get paid well. The kids don't have the best resources. So I want to help bridge that gap, and especially for the coaches and the players. So
Yeah. So kind of to wrap it up, because I see that, I think others can see as well that like going back to the iceberg reference, underneath was, like you said, the 7 years of you being in the 7-on-7 world, then learning business, being observing about others, then the marketing, then being strategic, then everything just coming together. And it's like now the foundation's set to just like your foot is just on the gas to create a national. I don't think it's going to be only. It's already a national brand.
yeah, when you have the number one quarterback and the number one corner in the country, not from South Florida.
Exactly. And now it's just going to be an even bigger brand as the year goes on, even more impact, more athletes, more everything. And now to wrap it up, to put the ribbon on the box, what, off of everything that you've learned, what's the best advice that you can give to someone out there that maybe they want to start their own thing? Maybe not their own 707, but business, whatever it may be.
Look, you don't get discouraged. You're going to have multiple failures. If you don't fail, you're not going to be successful. The biggest thing, I started a team called Nightmare. I was losing kids to other teams because my brand wasn't big. I didn't have the sponsors. Then I went to Fire. I was observant on how to move. I went to Immortals. I was observant. Just be observant. Watch how successful people go. So I walked up to Brett Getz at our first scrimmage. This was before 7-on-7 really started traveling. And I said, hey man, I love what you're doing in the community. I love what you've done for the 7-on-7 world. You are my blueprint. South Florida Express is my blueprint. But I'm going to build something much larger.
You told him that?
Yeah. And he chuckled. And to this day, I was like, and I owe a lot to seeing how they operated, how they were as a brand and all that. And I took a lot from them. I took a lot from the Fire. And I said, look, I'm going to use this as my blueprint, but my blueprint was for a much larger house. And like I said, I built that giant iceberg from the bottom to the top on just learning from others, seeing how others moved, and taking it to a whole nother level.
I hope you guys enjoyed the video, the interview. I definitely learned a lot. Like I said, everything, uncovering the whole iceberg. And I encourage you guys to stick along. I'll tag the social media, the TikTok, the Instagram, everything. So you guys can check out Raw. The future, like you said, the sky's the limit. So I definitely think this is just like, this interview is going to be a seed in the dirt to sprout a big tree, because there's no limit to anything with Raw. Because like you said, it's only the first year.
Yeah, so, look, and I know I've hopped around over the years, but Raw is my last thing.
I like that.
There's not going to be any other teams. Raw is my baby. This is my show, and I don't I don't see myself, I would never drop this. I dropped Nightmare because I needed to use Fire's history with a deck and all that stuff, and I realized I couldn't do it there, so I went to Immortals. I knew I had to start from scratch, but it is what it is. And then I started from scratch with Raw, and like I said, just blew up.
Exactly, pretty much, yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. Anything else you want to leave off on?
No, man, I appreciate you having this opportunity and just giving my little story on how Raw started, my background in the space. It's crazy where I started and where I've got into in this space and where it's going, and stamping myself in the 7-on-7 world as, hey, people took me as somewhat of a joke to start. I wasn't taken serious. Now I've just put my foot down on the game, and people are coming now for me to advice. And look, I go to people for advice, but anybody who ever needs advice, my line's always open. My DMs are always open. I'm here to help anybody in the game. Just because when I first started as a young kid, I wish I kind of had someone that could have guided me a bit. Maybe I wouldn't have jumped so many teams.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have done what I did, but it worked out. So, but if you could have someone that could really mentor you and guide you in the proper way, especially in an area that you're unfamiliar with and they've been successful at,
Be set up good.
you'll be set up good. Like it's always good to have someone to lean on when it comes to building something. So I've gotten to where I'm at and I'm gonna keep chipping away.
Like too much, you can't put a limit to what is gonna come.
Yeah. So hopefully our goal is hitting at least 500,000 social media platform followers by the end of next season. So the end of year 2. That's our goal, and then in 5 years, hopefully have a 7-figure following.
I like that.
So,
well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you guys for making it to the end of the video. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And like I said, I'm going to tag all the social media, so check them out. And I'll see you guys on the next one.